I will try to make this brief. We had dinner last night with Joe and Sarah Wilson, and they asked the same question. So, I had seen Jody in passing because we were at Calvary Church, but I didn't know her. There was a wonderful, remarkable young man who was probably 30, 32, who was in the Larimer Avenue or the Larimer district, and he had a street ministry. And he came to Calvary to speak, and it was standing room only. And he was just remarkable. And Jody was typical Jody. She was all dressed for church with a hat on, etc. And she was in the back of the room, and he was trying to deal with a carousel with the slides. And finally, after several minutes, Jody just marched through everybody like that. She came up and she said, I'm Jody, let me deal with this. You keep talking because what you have to say is much more important, and I'll deal with the carousel. And then after that, maybe a day or so later, because he obviously was doing youth street ministry as well, and Jody had a ministry at Calvary of, I think there were 6 or 8 girls. And that's where Brent came in, because he was either brother or cousin of one of the girls, and he would hang around. And Jody had a great big gray Suburban, and she'd go all over the place with these kids, and that was the start of that. And she came to me maybe a week after and said, I can do organization and all this, but she said, how do we get volunteers? And I said, well, I can help you with that. And it just sort of went from there. And she said, what should we do first? And I said, well, I think you may know more about this than I do, but we probably need to put a board together. We need to find people that are going to represent various and that are into this. And we met at Calvary Church, and when she came in and she said, what do we do now? And I said, we need a mission statement. Well, let's just make one. I said, well, I think you need to let everybody kind of make one, And it just, and then we hosted, I'm thinking that was like 1998 or 9. I don't know that I really
Or
remember
perhaps
that.
earlier.
And we ended
It
up.
was earlier.
It was earlier, maybe 97. And we ended up hosting, that's when I first met Joe Massaro and Alina. We ended up hosting at our house a gathering to tell people about what we hoped would be the vision for the school. And it was well attended. We had several couples of the older generation, the people I think I miss the most right now, who were really inspired by the whole idea and very helpful. And Murney Berger was forced from the beginning.
Maven and Sally Childs.
Yeah, and Audrey and Tommy Hilliard. I mean, it was a great group. And the Washingtons, Nancy and Milt. There were a lot of people. I think everybody felt so strongly about education, and that this was the thing that we needed to do.
And Tom, everybody left after Tom sold the idea with hook, line, and sinker. He
With
did
what?
his classic job of selling the hope of the school.
That's right. Because at that point, which I'm sure you know, he was still working at Shadyside, basically teaching lacrosse, but I think there were 1 or 2 courses he taught as well. And so it was summertime, and I remember him saying, because he had a church on the north side, I can't remember the name of the church, it was a nice, pretty church, and he said, there are a whole lot of young black men that are walking around that have absolutely nothing to do. And he said, I see them every day. And I'll never forget Joe Massaro listening to this, because Tom said, we're going to do something a little radical. He said, I've got some of our AP teachers who said, yes, they'd love to help this summer, and we'll have a summer school. And we're going to do it in the basement of the church. And he said, we're going to treat it as a job. We're going to pay them $20 to come every day to school. And they did. And that became, I think, like 8 or 9 years of that summer school.
It may have been $20 a week, but anyway.
Was it $20 a week? I think it was okay. Anyway,
there was an incentive.
And then Jody taught some classes there. Jody and Tom met she had heard his name, and someone said, you need to talk to Tom Johnson, and she was doing courses at the seminary. And that's, I think, how that happened. And Tom told the story in our living room, and everybody said, Keep those kids coming.
Founding board member.
I have to say it was at that particular point, it was by the seat of our pants. I mean, you know, we didn't have any money. We had gotten a lovely donation from R.K. Mellon because Eliza Brown wrote the, what do you call it when you do
The grant proposal.
Thank you, the proposal, the grant, and they immediately gave us a very nice sum of money to continue with that. And then what Jody and I did was we visited maybe 5 different cities, places where we knew she had a contact with one young, awfully nice guy, ordained Episcopal priest in Boston, and he had a school in South Boston. And she had talked to him and she said, I want to pick his brain. So we would try to combine getting a trip somewhere near Boston and whatever. And then I had to fly west at one point, and I said, can you get me to Fayetteville, Arkansas? No, but we can get you to Tulsa. He said, you can get to Tulsa if you rent a car. And it was because Mrs. Walton of Walmart, her husband, I think, perhaps was just to see, I can't remember the details of that, but they were having an educational seminar with a whole bunch of people there. And I can't remember if I called or wrote her and said I would be very interested in coming because it was something we were trying to do in Pittsburgh. And I was very fortunate. I got to sit next to her, and we had a fabulous conversation. She was really interesting, yeah. And I spent the night in a motel that's in the Walmart parking lot, and the lights are on all night long. I've never seen anything like it. But it was, and she stayed in touch with us for a while, which was really nice. Yeah.
And John, how did you get involved?
I was married to Lucy. End of discussion.
Well, that's not true. He was very much in favor of the whole idea.
I wrote checks.
And your involvement as the interim head of school.
Lucy and Jody arm twisted me.
I think it was right after
Jody needed
she needed a
time
sabbatical. Her father had just died, and that was very, very hard on her.
and we were just in
Yeah.
this facility.
Yeah.
Fall of
That's right.
2011.
2011, yeah.
And Jody
We
went on
twisted her arm.
sabbatical in February or March for 2 or 3 months.
4 months. You were here.
I don't think it was 4 months.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yes.
He brought our dog
It
in the
ended.
morning, and he was called Vice President of Security, so he would run around the school. I mean, I think Fisher loved this. Or was that Moose? No, that was Fisher.
Fisher.
Yeah, that was Fisher. So, that was
There
good.
were a number of girls in particular that would come into the office every day to pet Fisher,
To pet Fisher. That's right.
feed him a
Yeah.
biscuit.
In the old building, which was not being a Pittsburgher, but I gather it was what was the first name? Laundry. It was the big old brick building. And UPMC had the first floor, and we had 1 floor, and then pretty soon we had 3 floors. And so let's say we're into this maybe year 4. I don't actually remember the date, but we had 8th and 9th graders, and then and I came up the back stairs. The kids were already getting their books. They probably already had a class, whatever. And when you come out the door of the back stairs, there are these line of lockers that each of the kids have. And there was this one 8th grader who said, I'm going to do this. I'm not wearing this tie and putting this jacket on and all this kind of stuff. And an older kid came around the corner and heard him say it. And he kind of hit him on the shoulder and he said, tuck your shirt in and put your jacket on because they're not going to get over this and you need to do it. And I thought, oh, we're making real progress here. I thought, that's all they needed was to hear that from an upper class. And so that was a fun memory.
And I'd say September 12th, 2011, when we had the opening of the school and the students standing with $10,240,154.25 having been raised for the school was a very exciting day. And
that was
many graduations, including this year. The critical importance of EITC programs and being involved with that. It's enabled all of us to dramatically increase our donations. And we have felt that it was certainly our most important contribution to something that we feel we were fortunate to be well educated and to give back to these kids has been very wonderful for us over these years, and we look forward to continuing that with legacy grants to the school as well for both of us. So it's been a critical part of our lives for what, 21 years?
now.
Well, for more than that, 25
Yeah.
years with the early years before.
The Neighborhood Academy has been a remarkable privilege to be part of.
Ditto,
Happy 21st anniversary to the Neighborhood Academy.
ditto.
Great.
That's excellent.